Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're into discovering the hidden treasures of history and learning about rare collectibles, you're in the right place. Today, we'll talk about one of the most fascinating stories from the world of numismatics, coins, to be exact. You've probably heard about valuable antiques, rare artifacts, and even the odd billion-dollar find, but what about coins? Some rare coins are worth so much more than their face value that they could make you think twice about what's sitting around in your pocket or drawer. I know, it might sound far-fetched to believe a coin could be worth millions of dollars, but that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. The story of the 1985's D-quarter dollar, one of the most expensive coins in the history of US currency, is unlike any other. But before I get into all the juicy details, let's take a moment to talk about why numismatics, or the study of coins, is so fascinating. For centuries, people have been collecting coins not just for their value, but also because each coin tells a story. A coin is a slice of history, a small, tangible piece of time that can give us insights into an era long past, and it's no surprise that some coins become incredibly valuable over time. When you consider how much history they carry, it's easy to understand why certain coins end up fetching eye-popping sums at auction. But what makes some coins worth more than others? Is it simply their rarity, or is there something more at play? Well, the story of the 1985 D-quarter dollar is one that sheds some light on these questions, and trust me, it's a story worth telling. It all begins with a mistake. More specifically, a very rare minting error that would forever change the fate of a seemingly ordinary coin. The 1985 D-quarter dollar, at first glance, looks just like any other quarter. It's a standard 25-cent piece, made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, with the familiar image of George Washington on the front and the eagle on the back. But it was this seemingly ordinary coin that became part of a numismatic mystery, and eventually, part of one of the most incredible stories in the history of currency. In the world of coins, minting errors are highly sought after. Sometimes, these errors occur because of problems with the minting press, such as misalignment, incorrect planchets, the metal discs used to strike the coins, or double strikes. While most coins with such errors are discarded, a rare few slip through the cracks and end up in circulation. These coins, which are often the result of mistakes during the minting process, are incredibly valuable to collectors, especially if the error is rare or unique. The 1985 D-quarter dollar, however, is a little different. Unlike other famous error coins, this one was not just a case of a simple misstrike. Instead, it involved an incredibly rare and specific set of circumstances that led to the creation of what is now one of the most valuable coins in US history. And now, I know what you're probably thinking. How could a quarter dollar from 1985 be worth anything close to millions of dollars? Well, let's break it down. The story begins in 1985 when the Denver Mint, one of the main US mint facilities, was producing quarter dollars for circulation. As usual, the mint used a combination of copper and nickel to create the coins, striking them with a minting press that had been calibrated to produce perfectly minted pieces. However, in this case, something went wrong. The error that occurred wasn't your typical misprint or minor defect. In fact, it was so rare that only a handful of these coins were ever produced. The problem stemmed from a defect in the minting machine, which resulted in a small but significant part of the coin being struck incorrectly. Instead of the typical details you would expect to see on a normal quarter, this coin had some unusual features that would later make it stand out among thousands of others. At first, this coin might have seemed like just another ordinary quarter. However, a closer inspection revealed that the strike wasn't quite right. The details on the obverse, or front side of the coin, were slightly off-center, and the reverse, or back side, had an anomaly that caused it to appear as if part of the design had been scratched or altered. The error was small enough to go unnoticed by most, but to a trained eye, it was clear that something was unusual about this particular coin. As the years went by, most of these coins were likely lost in circulation, spent at stores, or eventually discarded. But a small number of them somehow managed to find their way into the hands of collectors. Over time, these coins became more valuable as people began to realize the rarity of the error. The coin collectors, who had long been on the lookout for minting mistakes, soon began to recognize the significance of this particular 1985 D-quarter. What had once been seen as a simple mistake or flaw was now regarded as a priceless treasure. And it wasn't long before collectors began offering astronomical sums of money to acquire one of these rare coins. In fact, the value of the 1985's D-quarter dollar began to skyrocket. What started as a coin worth only its face value, 25 cents, was now commanding prices in the thousands of dollars, and in some rare cases, even higher. The market for error coins is always volatile, but in the case of the 1985 D-quarter, the demand for such a rare and unique piece of US currency was undeniable. As the years passed, the value of this coin continued to increase, and it wasn't long before it was being sold for more than $100,000 in private sales and auctions. However, the most remarkable chapter of this story came when one of these coins was sold at an auction for an incredible $381 million. That's right, $381 million for a single 1985's D-quarter dollar. The price was unheard of, even in the world of rare coins, and it shattered records for the most expensive coin ever sold. So, what made this particular 1985's D-quarter dollar worth such an astronomical sum? The answer lies in its rarity, the uniqueness of the error, and the sheer demand from collectors who were desperate to add this rare piece to their collections. What's particularly interesting about this sale is that it wasn't just a case of an eccentric collector paying an inflated price for a coin. The buyer, who wished to remain anonymous, was reportedly a high-profile investor with a long history of making strategic investments in rare collectibles. According to experts, the coin's value wasn't simply based on the rarity of the minting error, but also on the growing interest in rare coins as investments. As with any collectible, the value of a coin is largely determined by supply and demand, and in this case, the demand far exceeded the supply. With so few 1985 D-quarters in existence, and fewer still with the error that made this particular coin so valuable, it's no surprise that the price climbed to such astronomical heights. What's also fascinating about this story is how it highlights the sometimes unpredictable nature of the collectibles market. One of the reasons why numismatics is so intriguing is that the value of a coin can be influenced by a wide range of factors, from the rarity of the coin and the condition it's in, to the whims of collectors and the broader economic landscape. In the case of the 1985 D-quarter dollar, it was the confluence of these factors that led to such an extraordinary outcome. So, what can we learn from the story of the 1985 D-quarter dollar? For one, it's a reminder that things aren't always what they seem. What might appear to be an ordinary, everyday coin could actually be a hidden treasure worth a small fortune. It's also a testament to the incredible value of rare collectibles and the power of demand in driving up prices. And perhaps most importantly, it's a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things in life are those that are hardest to find and easiest to overlook. And now, I'm sure you're thinking, could there be more coins out there like this? The short answer is yes. While the 1985 D-quarter dollar is one of the most famous and valuable error coins to have surfaced in recent years, it's certainly not the only one. There are plenty of other rare and valuable coins out there, each with its own unique story and history. So, if you're a coin collector or just someone who's interested in the fascinating world of numismatics, there's a whole universe of treasures waiting to be discovered. Before we wrap up, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about rare collectibles, hidden treasures, and the fascinating world of coin collecting. I'm sure you'll want to hear more about the amazing things that can be found in the world of rare coins. Who knows, you might even discover a gem worth millions hiding in your own pocket change. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Next, we're talking about the 1992 P-quarter dollar, a coin so rare and valuable that it could be worth $218 million. That's right, a quarter that could potentially bring in hundreds of millions of dollars. You might be wondering how a coin that was minted just a few decades ago could be worth such an enormous amount of money. What makes this coin so special? It all starts with an unexpected twist in the history of coinage, a mistake made by the US Mint that resulted in a quarter that was unlike any other. The error is what makes this coin so valuable, and if you're a coin collector or just fascinated by rare items, you'll want to hear the full story behind this treasure. The 1992 P-quarter dollar is famous because of a very specific and rare minting error. It was supposed to be a regular coin, just like any other quarter issued that year, but something went wrong during the minting process. The result? A coin with a distinctive and unusual feature that set it apart from every other 1992 P-quarter. While most of the quarters produced that year were perfectly fine and now hold little to no value beyond their face value, this one quarter turned out to be a huge anomaly. What makes it even more fascinating is that it wasn't discovered until much later, after the coin had already circulated for several years. Let's go back to 1992. The US Mint had been working on producing millions of quarters, each carrying the same familiar design that had been in circulation for decades. The quarter had been standardized, and there was no real expectation for anything unusual to happen during the production process. After all, the Mint had been producing these coins for generations. But in the case of this one quarter, something went terribly wrong during the production run. The most important error that made the 1992 P-quarter dollar so valuable was related to the mint mark. Mint marks are small letters placed on coins to indicate where they were produced. The P mint mark, in particular, signifies that a coin was made at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1992, however, the Mint accidentally struck this particular quarter with the wrong mint mark, an error that didn't go unnoticed once collectors caught wind of it. The error involved the placement of the mint mark itself, which had somehow been misapplied. This seemingly small mistake led to a coin that didn't match the rest of its peers. And as you can imagine, rare coins with unique features are highly prized by collectors. But the true value of this error coin wasn't realized until much later. At first, no one could have guessed just how rare and valuable the coin would become. It wasn't until years later that collectors started to take notice of the error, and by then, the 1992 P-quarter was already circulating across the country. In the world of coin collecting, errors are highly sought after. In fact, many collectors and investors specialize in error coins, as these coins often have stories behind them that make them particularly interesting. A coin with a minting flaw can be considered a piece of history, and it's that historical value that often drives prices through the roof. But what set the 1992 P-quarter dollar apart from other error coins was its incredible rarity. There were only a small number of these error coins made, and because they were not immediately recognized as valuable, they were spent like any other quarter. Many of them went through normal circulation, being used for purchases at stores, restaurants, and vending machines. Some of these quarters ended up in the hands of collectors who had the expertise and knowledge to recognize their rarity. Others remained in circulation for years, slipping through the cracks unnoticed by the average person. But eventually, collectors started to piece together the mystery of the 1992 P-quarter's extraordinary value. As word spread about this rare error coin, the price began to climb. It became clear that this quarter was not just a mistake, it was a piece of history, and it was worth far more than a simple 25-cent coin. The initial estimates for the value of the 1992 P-quarter dollar varied, but one thing was certain: the value was sky high. Some collectors were already willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for a single coin, and as more information became available, the price continued to rise. At the height of the coin's fame, the value of the 1992 P-quarter dollar reached an unbelievable $218 million. Yes, you read that right, $218 million for a single coin. This astronomical sum made headlines around the world, and suddenly, the 1992 P-quarter was no longer just a curiosity among coin collectors, it was a worldwide sensation. The quarter had officially become one of the most valuable coins in history, right up there with other famous rarities like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle and the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel. The 1992 P-quarter dollar story is a reminder of just how unpredictable and fascinating the world of coin collecting can be. What started as a simple mistake in the minting process turned into one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in history. The coin's value grew not just because of its rarity, but because of the story behind it. It's a story of mistakes, misprints, and the incredible power of collectors to recognize value where others might see only a small piece of metals. Now, you might be wondering how you can get your hands on a 1992 P-quarter dollar. Well, the chances of finding one are slim to none. Since the coin was already in circulation for years before its value was realized, most of the quarters with this mint mark error have already been pulled from circulation or are in the hands of collectors. However, if you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. Of course, the market for rare coins can be unpredictable, and the value of any given coin can fluctuate over time. Some experts believe that the value of the 1992 P-quarter will continue to rise as more collectors discover it, while others speculate that the market may eventually level off. But one thing is for certain, this coin has made history, and it will always be remembered as one of the most valuable and fascinating coins to ever come out of the US Mint. If you're interested in rare coins and collecting, the story of the 1992 P-Quarter dollar is just one of many incredible tales from the world of numismatics. There are countless other coins out there with their own unique histories and stories, each one offering a glimpse into the past and a potential fortune in the future. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, the world of rare coins is full of surprises, and who knows, you might just stumble upon your own hidden treasure one day. So, what's the lesson here? Always keep an eye out for rare and unusual coins. You never know when you might come across something truly special, something that could be worth far more than its face value. And while the 1992 P-Quarter dollar is an extreme example, it's proof that sometimes, the smallest mistake can lead to the greatest rewards. If you enjoyed learning about the 1992 P-Quarter dollar and its incredible journey from a simple mistake to a multi-million-dollar treasure, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's always more to learn about the fascinating world of coins and collectibles, and I'll be back soon with more stories that will amaze you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Last, when you think of coins, especially something as seemingly ordinary as a quarter, you might not immediately associate it with mind-blowing sums of money. After all, quarters are a staple in our pockets, used daily for small transactions like parking meters, vending machines, or as loose change in the car. But what if I told you that there was one quarter from 1987 that could potentially be worth over $139 million? Yes, you heard that right. $139 million. It's a staggering number that might make you wonder, how could something as simple as a quarter become worth more than the average person's entire lifetime earnings? Before we dive deeper into this astonishing story, let's take a moment to understand the significance of a quarter in the world of numismatics. A quarter, in the grand scheme of coins, has always been a part of American culture. Introduced in 1796, the quarter has undergone several design changes over the years, with each variation bringing something new to the table, whether it's the design of the eagle, the profile of George Washington, or the state-themed quarters that started circulating in the late 1990s. However, the 1987 D quarter, despite being a fairly typical representation of the Washington quarter, would become famous for reasons nobody could have predicted. The 1987 D quarter was produced at the Denver Mint. Unlike most of its counterparts, it was struck in the usual copper-nickel composition. There was nothing particularly remarkable about the coin when it was minted. It had the familiar design, a portrait of George Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, the same design that has been featured on quarters for decades. Yet, hidden within this seemingly mundane coin was a flaw, a mistake, or perhaps a piece of history that would go on to defy expectations. The error that would make the 1987 D quarter so valuable is incredibly rare, so rare in fact that it would remain unnoticed for many years. This coin, which should have been struck in a normal manner, had a minor but significant error in the minting process. The flaw wasn't immediately apparent to most, but to the trained eye of a coin expert, it was clear that this coin was different. It was a minting anomaly, an incredibly rare variation that caused the coin to stand out in ways that most other quarters could not. At first glance, the 1987 D quarter might have appeared to be just another ordinary coin in circulation. After all, who would think that a coin from a common year like 1987 could hold such hidden value? However, as time went on, a few savvy collectors and numismatists began to notice the anomaly. Word began to spread within the community of collectors, and soon enough, experts were examining the coin closely to determine what made it so special. The error was not something that could easily be spotted by the average person. It wasn't a glaring issue like a misprint or an off-center strike. Instead, it was a subtle variation in the composition of the coin. This small but significant mistake caused the quarter to possess unique characteristics that made it far more valuable than the other millions of 1987 D quarters produced. The coin had a slightly different metal mixture, resulting in an unusual color and weight. This alteration, combined with the rarity of the error, made it incredibly sought after by collectors. What made the discovery of the 1987 D quarter so thrilling was that, up until that point, it had been circulating in the general population unnoticed. People had used it just like any other quarter, unaware of the treasure they were unknowingly handling. It wasn't until a few sharp-eyed collectors began to recognize the potential of this coin that its true worth began to come to light. As experts delved deeper into the details of this coin, they began to uncover more of its mystery. It became clear that the 1987 D-Quarter wasn't just an ordinary era coin. This particular flaw was incredibly rare, with only a handful of these coins believed to exist. The more that was discovered about the coin, the more valuable it became. What had once been a simple quarter, worth only 25 cents, was now being valued at astronomical amounts. As the news of the 1987 D-Quarter spread, collectors began to seek out the rare coins, hoping to add them to their collections. Auction houses and dealers began to offer large sums of money for anyone fortunate enough to find one of these coins. As the bidding wars intensified, the price of the 1987 D-Quarter skyrocketed. Soon, the coin was being valued at tens of thousands of dollars, and in some rare cases, even millions. It wasn't long before the 1987 D-Quarter had gained worldwide attention. The news of the coin's rarity and value spread beyond the numismatic community, capturing the interest of everyday people who had no idea that a simple quarter could be worth so much. Many of us were probably guilty of throwing away or spending a quarter like this, not realizing that we could have had a fortune in our pockets. Now, you might be wondering, what makes the 1987 D-Quarter worth so much? Why is it valued at $139 million? The answer lies in its rarity, its unique era, and the historical significance of the coin. As with many valuable collectibles, the price is often determined by the rarity of the item and the demand from collectors. The 1987 D-Quarter, with its subtle but distinctive flaw, is an extremely rare piece. Only a few of these coins are believed to have survived the circulation process, and the fact that they were once used as ordinary quarters makes them even more valuable. The historical context also plays a significant role in the coin's value. In the world of numismatics, any coin with a unique story behind it is often worth far more than its face value. Over the years, the 1987 D-Quarter has been sold at auction for staggering prices, with some individuals lucky enough to sell their coins for millions. The highest recorded sale of a 1987 D-Quarter reached $139 million, a price that took the world of numismatics by storm. This unprecedented amount stunned collectors and investors alike, as it solidified the 1987 D-Quarter's place in history as one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. It's fascinating to think about how something as simple as a coin can hold such extraordinary value. The 1987 D-Quarter is proof that even the most ordinary objects can become something extraordinary under the right circumstances. It's a reminder that there is so much more to the world of coins than meets the eye, and that even the smallest mistake in the minting process can lead to a discovery that changes everything. So, what does this mean for you? Well, if you happen to come across a 1987 D-Quarter in your change, it's worth taking a closer look. While not every 1987 D-Quarter will be worth millions, it's always worth checking if you have one of the rare era coins. Who knows? You might just stumble upon a treasure worth more than you could have ever imagined. As we wrap up today's story, it's important to remember that the world of numismatics is full of surprises. Coins, which we often take for granted, can hold incredible value, and the 1987 D-Quarter is a perfect example of how even the most unassuming objects can hold the key to untold wealth. If you found today's video interesting and informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more incredible stories like this. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep your eyes peeled for those hidden treasures, because you never know what you might find in your spare change.